Here we go. Okay, so we're now recording. And okay. So some instructions for people if you're not familiar with Zoom. Some of the keys at the bottom there if you want to participate. It would be ideal if you just keep yourself muted so there's no interruptions. And then of course look out in the chat for the survey link. And then also I think Amos might be giving some information about prizes. So yeah, there we go, prizes. I don't know what it is, don't ask me, I won't say what it is.
It's an Uber Eats gift card.
Oh, nice.
And then if Uber Eats is not in your neighborhood, then we have Amazon gift cards. So either way, something is coming to your home.
Very cool. Okay, so this is just an overview. This is going to help me stay on track as well. Just been talking about some of our work, so who we work with, the teachings that we offer, our suggestions and experiences and what to look for in teachers and practitioners. If you don't have that experience, we're just giving you some insight. What is an Indigenous? What are some main components of an Indigenous classroom? Protocols. So when I'm speaking about protocols, I just want to be clear that we're a canoe building program. We also build tools. And so this is speaking from the perspective of where we've been, who we've worked with. So I don't want to state that, but I would say that some of these things are kind of universal. And if you're working, you know, you don't have to be building something, but if you're working in communities, partnering with Indigenous organizations and whatnot, some of these things might be helpful. Just a note, I really wanted to, I mean, of course, you're all educators. We know how important it is for the student to be at the focal point of the learning environment. So I had some mental notes why I wanted to create that slide. Talking about the negative experiences, I think that's really important. Some of the barriers that we've had in our experiences. Contributions that you can make if you're a guest in Indigenous learning environment, just showing you how to be comfortable in that space. And yeah, talking about our positive experiences, because I mean, like I said, if the negative outweighed the positive, I wouldn't be doing this work. So it's about the students, it's about our intent for the future. So there's more positive than there is negative. So for our work, you know, I was thinking about you guys all day. I was thinking what I wanted to share. And so as our program, you know, we're not super visible. We're out there. I think we're more concerned about the quality of relationships, quality of content, quality of outcomes versus quantity. So we're not in a big rush to be huge at this point. However, we know that there's the potential to, you know, get very big, but we're taking our time. We're being careful. And so in the journey of this work, really, so we do a lot of things. So birchbark canoe building, teaching, research, partnerships, apprenticeship, curriculum development, and then just because of working on the land, there's of course a natural element of governance and environmental management that comes along with our work. So for our teaching, and I don't want to say that this list is complete, but this is, let's just say we have more flexibility. There's more things that we do in working with First Nations communities or programs for various reasons, and we'll cover that. But we've worked with a lot of different levels of learning. You know, we've worked in Canada, the United States. We do all kinds of things, and it's very different, you know, right from First Nations communities. We do less kind of formal research, whereas you can see in post-secondary, you know, I've taught at various universities and different disciplines in kind of introducing Indigenous research methodologies. That's how I approach my work. That's what I was introduced to, that enabled me to just be comfortable to do my work. So we're also encouraging non-Indigenous students too, just to just be a good person, come in with your own knowledge, your own tools when you're entering an Indigenous space, and that's an opportunity for exchange, knowledge exchange. So so yeah, so there's a lot that we cover when we're working with different communities, programs, different levels of learning. And then of course, things are different when we're working Indigenous and non-Indigenous environments as well too. So that's just a snapshot of some of the work that we've been doing. You know, of course, like working in communities, it's a natural that we would try to use the language as much as possible. But of course, everything that we do in Indigenous communities, we'd like to encourage and teach with our non-Indigenous partners as well too. So, we're just in a place of learning, building relationships, building trust, shedding some old negative experiences that maybe had nothing to do with you. So we're in a, I don't like to say, yeah, we're in a reconciling time. I think it's just building relationships, getting back to protocols of, you know, who we were. People came here as contributors, and instead of trying to enforce something on other people. So we're just wanting to encourage people to just be themselves. So some of these are lessons. Like I said, I've had negative experiences. So these are suggestions to you. So, you know, vetting potential programs or candidates, if you're seeking, you know, wanting to, whatever it is you want to do, for us as canoe building or basket weaving, you know, schools would do that. We do that as an Indigenous program or Indigenous communities. We check out, you know, what are the values of the programs, the people, what's the intent with the knowledge or the information that they're given. We're in a very strange time, as we know, like there's people that are misrepresenting who they are, their ancestry. And so we definitely look for these things, and it just kind of helps proof you. You know, not everyone, even if you are Indigenous, not everyone can say their spirit name. So at least minimum, like, what's your community connection, or, you know, who's your family member, even if it's just one relative or something, like, and it's got to be pretty clear, because, you know, we have a couple of examples of misrepresentation and they're pretty vague on their identity. And so I think that you should state very clearly your ancestry. And that just helps, because I mean, it just brings a lot of conflict into the communities. I mean, there's a lot of distrust. There's, you know, what are your motivations? Are you taking something? So these are, you know, one of the main things that I look for. They should be able to name their teachers, the region of their teachers, and the teachings. We're oral tradition people. And so you know, there's this mentorship and apprenticeship that comes with it. What to look for? How many years have they been a practitioner? For me, like, I would never say I'm a master of something, even though I've been working at this craft for 9 years. I'm still learning, you know, but you should be able to state that. You should be able to state, like, how long you've been working at something. Usually, I mean, going through that proper protocol and apprenticeship, you should at some point down the line or along the way, actually, you should be passing on those teachings to other students or community members. Like, usually you don't withhold that. You want to grow with the community. You want to pass that on. And yeah, looking for the support of the use of Indigenous languages. It should always be an element in the classroom. Even if you don't know anything, like, try to use it as much as possible wherever you can. Do they work with community elders or an advisory team? Yeah, I'll get to some of these, and some of these things will make sense with some of the negative experiences and where these things come from. But And really, are they giving back to the environment in the community that they're working in? Like, are they just collecting a paycheck, or are they leaving teachings in? Or are they, yeah, of course, that apprenticeship, so those are just some points there, what to look for. Like I said, these are not concrete, and of course there'd be more to add to this, but I was just thinking off the top of my head because I've had negative experiences. So these are some cues of things that I had to look for. Indigenous classroom, I mean, it's experiential, it's oral, it's visual, intergenerational. There should be a presence of some sort of ceremony, incorporation of Indigenous worldviews. And when I say activation, and this doesn't come from me, I mean, there's many other teachers within Indigenous nations. This comes from my teachers. Activation. So when we're in a classroom, we're in four walls and there's someone at the front, but usually we'd be outdoors on the land, there'd be the elements present. And so we say at the same time, we should be simultaneously, there should be an activation of the body, the mind, the heart, and the spirit. Because we acknowledge that. So that's for us is a holistic learning environment for us. Laughter is always really key. Like we acknowledge that people have different learning styles, they have different attention spans. So we need to take a break. We need to maybe not be so serious. It's a good way to break the ice or build relationships. So laughter is really important in our classrooms. There should, like I said, the mentorship or some form of apprenticeship should exist. I mean, it doesn't always, but it should. I feel like a teacher is always looking for a student. So this is something that we're rebuilding too. Just because of the impacts of colonization, we would have had. It wasn't a standardization of, what it was, everyone had a gift, and there was a teacher would come forward and they would spend time with you. You would have that community support. So I would say that we're rebuilding that. Some things of that mentorship and apprenticeship has always existed in some regions or some communities or some families, but for the most part, we're wanting to get back into that. And I'm just speaking to, like I said, for canoe building, for example, we need canoe builders. So we need, as a program, we've had one apprentice go on, and I think at this point he probably is a canoe builder. But we want to see more of that. We want to do that on a more full-time basis. So, and food. I mean, food is, like I said, when we're taking a break, when we're just visiting, less serious stuff. I mean, food is always a really good. It's just there. It's always this kind of, whether it's snacks, because it's also teaching. Usually, especially when we'd be walking around on the land, you could just harvest something right there. So it wasn't like we were always packing a lunch or whatever. Maybe we'd have dry meat or something, but our classrooms, we were mobile. We were doing things in the elements. So of course we had to be prepared to be there, whatever length that was. So some of the protocols, work directly with the community you're in. So, working with the community members, the guides, facilitators, the elders, or leadership. You don't have to work with this full list here, but someone work with the communities. If your school or program wants to partner, make sure you're always communicating with someone from the community they're gonna help you, they're gonna support you, they're gonna lead you to other teachers that you didn't think of or that you didn't know of. So building those relationships is always really important. And beyond that, sustaining that relationship. Don't just go in and take something because this is what you need for this period in time. It's an ongoing thing. I think it's important to learn about the treaties that you're on, because if you're bringing, like in the territory, because if you're bringing students, I think it's important to tell your students, like, we have this treaty relationship, and these are the the territories, and this is why we have, why we're able to live here. These are peace and friendship treaties. And this comes up for treaties. Especially if you're harvesting, like, let's say you have a student in your classroom and it happens to be their treaty territory. I mean, they have the first right to harvest because that's their land. That's, you might be the teacher or the facilitator or whatnot, but that's their land that they can harvest. And to respect the other territories that you're on too, if you don't want to be harvesting in someone else's treaty territory as well too. So it's good to have just overall knowledge because I think it enables you to share that information with other people as well too. Generally at the beginning of a session or a classroom, the protocols will be shared. But in case you miss anything, don't feel nervous about it. Just ask, approach someone. And, and if you don't have them all intact and you're unsure about something, it's still okay. Like, just ask. That's usually the best protocol. Being helpful. I've had people come in and they just kind of sit around and they don't contribute, and, they bring their guitar or whatever. Are you there to learn? Or are you there to hang out? I mean, there's a lot of other places you can go do those things, but when you're in an Indigenous learning environment or a community, like, it took a lot for us to build that trust again, to let people, and not only that, we're trying to protect, we want to empower our students. So our first priority are Indigenous students, first and foremost. So be helpful, contribute something however you can. Asking permission to take pictures is really big, or if you can touch something. And the reason for that is because, a lot of the materials that we're working with, we see them as being alive, they have spirit. And so imagine, your child, your newborn baby is in a room and some strangers like snapping pictures and touching it and is like hanging out in the room when you're not there. Like, you wouldn't do that. So, just think about that. Think about privacy, respecting people's space and respecting the people whose knowledge that is, or that their work. Like, a builder might have some sort of preference. So it's really important. I think details are really important too. So the reason why I'm saying that is because there's different techniques that come from different communities, and not everyone wants to share them. If you're privileged enough to be in that space, yeah, it's really important to just ask, really. You don't have to be super nervous, just ask. We'll eventually get to a point where we know all these things and the discomfort hopefully will go away. Do not be in the learning space without a project lead or group. This comes with some of the negative experiences, and I guess I'll just touch on that. Yeah, I've just had people, again, it's that you wouldn't let some stranger come in with your child unattended. It's just respecting this spirit, or like for community building, we're building a new life. So just, you want to be there with the creators, with the builders, people that have taken on the responsibility for those materials and for that life that they're creating. So just be, just be aware of that. This is a little bit different, so don't invite your friends or family. This is different in a community context because, of course, people would drop by and whatnot, but I've had experiences where those people take over the space and it's not so much about the student anymore. So it would be best to just ask whoever the facilitator is, or to discuss these things in the beginning. What are the protocols for who can be in the space? So yeah, that's really determined on the comfort of the community. So if you're working in a community, don't just wander around, or if you're going to, ask about it first, what's the best road to go down? We've partnered with other communities, and we've had non-Indigenous people just kind of wander around, and they could have been in danger. Like, res dogs are a thing, they could attack you, bears could be out, whatever, you know. It's good to ask the community first so that you're aware of these things. Is it safe? But not only that, I mean, if you're just kind of wandering around, people are going to be on alert. I mean, information spreads really quickly. They're going to say, hey, there's a stranger. Someone might pull up on you. We're just trying to avoid all that so that you're comfortable there, you're welcome there. We want to ensure your safety as a guest in someone's territory. That's all. Yeah, I mean, I guess when you're partnering with the communities, I mean, people have interests which are really great, but if you don't happen to not hear the thing that you want to hear, or do the thing you want to do, that's okay. There's going to be other opportunities. That's why it's important to sustain your relationship so that you can create potential opportunities in the future to do those things. And again, this comes with some of the experiences. Again, I partnered with a community in a university, and one of the researchers came in. Her number one intention was to work with a particular material, and that stayed true all the way through. And it's like she didn't hear anything we said through the whole experience. She just kind of streamlined to, I want to work with this material, and she was kind of just destructive and disrespectful. And so that's where that comes from. Contribute the knowledge of your own people. So what I've experienced in working with non-Indigenous people is that there's this repetition of knowledge that we've already heard, that you have access to places. Like, I guess, you know, when you show up in these spaces, like, think about your ancestors, think about your home territory, think about those teachings that you carry. That's where the exchange takes place. We, as Indigenous people, we want to hear that. We want to hear the teachings of your ancestors. We want to hear the teachings of your land, because they're, you know, you brought them. Those are your gifts. That's, you know, honoring your ancestors, but that's contributing that diversity of worldly knowledge to the collective. We can have repetition all the time. We can be speaking for other people, about other people, like, share your experiences, share your knowledge. And because that just creates an organic experience. A lot of things we've heard from other people, they've been repeated, and so contribute your knowledge. And have fun. Like, yeah, there's a lot of rules and whatnot, but like I said, I think it's just rebuilding that trust, because, you know, we already created a lot of protocols, and a lot of them instructions are within the treaties. You know, I really like the Tiro Wampum, because that really kind of shows like two vessels traveling down a river. You know, you have your own way of living, your own knowledge systems, and Indigenous people do too, and we can live in the same place and go side by side, and we can live in balance and whatnot. So, you know, those instructions are there, and we're just trying to get back to, you know, basic respect, basic trust, you know. And when we can establish these things, you know, we won't talk about it so much, I don't think so, but we're in this place of discomfort and rebuilding trust right now. So, but that's okay. I appreciate everyone that's here, that you guys are willing to be vulnerable, to learn, to willing to build, to go through this hard work. You wouldn't be here this evening if you weren't willing to do all these things and to hear these things. So you're already ahead of the game. You guys are going to be leading other people. So I appreciate that. The slides don't always want to change. Let's see here. Try the next one. Negative experiences. As a new program, I am a young woman entering into a realm of canoe builders. There's not that many within the Anishinaabe Nation. So I'm a target for many things. I've had a canoe stolen from me by an Indigenous canoe builder from my community. He wasn't from my community, excuse me. We built the canoe in my community and he came and took it when I was out of the country. So I'm out $15,000. He used my family and the trust of my community to be able to take it. So that's a thing. Cultural appropriation. So this is where we're talking about this distrust. So a lot of people like to attend workshops and events and, you know, they're using it somehow for their research, or maybe they're doing their own workshops and making money off of the knowledge. So again, that's just really getting back to issues around trust. We have valid reasons. Patriarchy, why did I put that in there? Because like I said, our Indigenous classrooms, our Indigenous learning environments, our apprenticeships and mentorship, we're people that, you know, it was a balance of men and women. There weren't so, I mean, there are some gender roles, but it was really, I mean, if you're contributing to the whole, this is your skill, this is your gift, go right ahead. But because of the Indian Act, because of different worldviews, because of different laws, we're seeing the influence, especially for me. And there's the difference. My grandfather's a carpenter, my dad's a mechanical engineer. I come from families of builders and teachers. And I've had negative experiences of men not liking that I'm in that field of canoe building, not liking that I'm leading this program, that a lot of those things, the empowerment of men has really impacted our communities in a negative way. And it comes out, at least for me, I've experienced it in canoe building. Like I've worked with 4 different canoe builders. That's my training over the last 9 years. We've had good and negative experiences, but I just wanted to put that out there that the impacts of that have affected us. And so that's why I really kind of emphasize that it's an intergenerational community building process. We would always have everyone there. There'd always all levels of learning, the elders, everyone would be there. It wasn't I'm an expert and you listen to me kind of thing. So there's that kind of lateral violence is really taking place. I've experienced it. I've experienced a lot of lateral violence. I create positive experiences. I make people a lot of money. I promote them. It doesn't always work out. That's the reality. I'm not saying that's for everyone, but for me, that's my experience. And through these negative experiences, I've had to pause to say, you know, we have really great intentions to plant seeds, to build canoes, to do all of these things. But I'm also realizing that not everyone is a canoe builder. I mean, sorry, some canoe builders aren't teachers. Like they're not focused on the student. They're there for other reasons. So we've had to weed that out. We've had to stop to say, I needed an advisory board. I need to think about everything that I'm talking about today. I can put this all together and I can inform you guys, or I can inform future programs because of all the things that I've had to go through in developing this program. And, you know, we're doing work, but it's worth it. It's worth, I've had to stop. I've had to heal. Like I said, it's more positive than it is negative, but understanding the impacts of colonization, patriarchy, meritocracy, hierarchy, all those things, they really exist and they come out. Even while we're in this movement, I feel like with canoe building, we're gonna move into kind of a renaissance or of artistic movement around the Great Lakes, canoe building. But we got to go through some hard, uncomfortable things as well. So it's 2 ways for us. It's working with allies, working in our communities and dealing with all that trauma, all those experiences. and understanding that. And so for me, I've had to look outward and work with other Indigenous people that develop curriculum for my advisory boards. And I always work with communities. I always go back and report, what I'm doing. I never work alone. So I have to kind of create this protection around me from these experiences. Yeah, I mean, we've definitely had guys come in, they're hobbyists. I don't know what else you would call them, but like I said, that's not a student-focused approach. They come in, they're inappropriate around women, making inappropriate comments. Yeah, we've had researchers come in, they know clearly what their ethics protocols are. We've created memorandum of understandings, and this is this one experience out of U of T that was, like I said, that one lady had an agenda and she broke everything. It didn't matter to her. And speaking on that point, if you're in that experience, if you're working in a group or a partnership, or if you just happen to be someone that's supportive of your colleague, please do that, the Indigenous person a favor and take that person aside, say, take a break, take time out, read your ethics protocols, have a plan. Because for me, when I went through this, I was burnt out. This lady, she was coming at me with something no matter whenever I would see her, and that group didn't really entirely support me. The only time that they came through was at the end, after I described kind of all the kind of horrific things that she did in the community, where we could talk to her supervisor, the university, all of these things. We don't want to go that far. It doesn't need to go that far. But it's easier to call it out when you see it at the time. Know that it's not our work to deal with this person, especially if we're the teacher or we're the one facilitating these partnerships. That's extra. It would just be helpful if you spoke up. Yeah, we've partnered with other organizations. They don't like that we call out their poor behavior, and so they don't pay us. And they'll go partner with other Indigenous communities and the people that we gave advice on who you shouldn't work with, who's inappropriate. They work with them anyways. I don't know how you avoid a lot of these things, but I'm just saying this is what's out there. Again, yeah, the one researcher that came in, I mean, we were standing on Indigenous land, and, she was talking about Crown land, and, she was just being inappropriate to the community members and to elders, really bringing in her geography and land management, all these yeah, it just wasn't a place. It wasn't a place and time. You can be constructive, and it just wasn't the right place. But again, like I said, there were many levels, many flags of that could have been before she even got to that point. We've worked with Indigenous organizations. I'm calling it on those too. We're still in a place where we see our canoes. We turn down opportunities, actually, if you don't want to follow protocols, or if your motivations are not good, we won't work with you. We'll turn money down. It's not worth it. But yeah, it is a practice amongst Indigenous and non-Indigenous organizations because the canoe, yeah, they were taken. We have every right to feel very protective of them, but yeah, we built a canoe, and there's a birthing ceremony, there's a naming ceremony that goes with this canoe. That's the obligation of the canoe builder when you're asking to take the life of the components of the canoe. And so the organization, they said, no, you can't do this, just bring it to us and we're going to hang it up on the ceiling. And that's what happened. And it sat there for 5 years, and finally we got it back. But I mean, that was a teaching moment to say these are the protocols and whatnot, and they just said, no, you can't. So, I mean, that's not always in place. Something like naming or birthing ceremonies don't always take place depending on whatever activity you're doing. But I'm just saying that that's something that's there. And to understand that, yeah, I mean, it is hard if there's like organization or institution protocols, but then we also have our protocols as well too. I mean, if you're asking us to build a canoe for us, you have to think about the obligations and the commitments and the accountability of the canoe builder in taking the life and the responsibility of caring for those things. So that's why I'm bringing up there. I've had my peers, Indigenous people, take pictures of my canoes, and then I see them on program university pamphlets and whatnot. I've had to have those conversations with their supervisors and them about respecting those things. So just don't do that. Yeah, if you go out to do harvesting, I mean, like I said, I'm kind of coming back to this lady. That was her whole thing. I want to harvest spruce roots. That is my number one goal. And we literally just kind of dug up this whole root system, and where we try to get the full true length of the roots as much as possible. This lady was walking around snipping everything. Like, she didn't ask, she didn't care. Just don't do that. Don't be like this lady. I don't want to name her, but and again, yeah, not all canoe builders are teachers. Some of them are in there they want attention, they want a paycheck. So some of the protocols that I've listed there, those are really good resources and what to look for. Yeah, some of the things, like I said, I've had from people entering in the space, inviting their friends. So when you invite your friends, like I said, there's these hobbyist builders, they come in, they invite their friends, they're using resources, materials, they're taking up time, space, they're being negative, they're being inappropriate. These are some things that you can do, make it clear what the drop-in hours are, make it clear, just to ensure it's a student-centered learning environment. Like, as a program, we might create like a checklist that we can use as a common resource for people if they want to have questions about this. And so this is kind of just starting a list. But like I said, we get our own funding, we create our own partnerships. And like I said, there's community-based people will come in and they'll just invite themselves, use the materials, take over, make students feel uncomfortable. Like, I'm a different kind of teacher. This is like, I'm not in schools. I don't know how to control that environment. I'm learning. So I'll continue to learn, but this is what I've come to from all of those experiences, and being like, like I said, it was about canoe building. It was about the intent for the future, but I had to stop and say, how do we create a safe learning environment for the students? Because even our Indigenous communities, and some people are coming in and just like, they're not thinking about that. So as a facilitator, as a teacher, I'm learning that, but these are just some tips that I'm sharing with you guys. In some of the partnerships that we've had, there haven't been a whole lot of barriers, but of course, like TDSB, for example, when we were at the Native Learning Center, that was that accident. I think out of TDSB, there was a drowning accident. And so of course, because of that, shortly after when we came in, even though the school had a pool, there were requirements around having to get, I think, your CPR, you had to get swimming lessons. And I don't know if they actually put the canoe in the water yet, but there were a whole bunch of stoppages as to why we couldn't do that. And then COVID happened. So that was, and then we've had, again, issues around liability. That was the denial of fulfilling those ceremonies, those naming and birthing ceremonies. And that was an issue around, even though our students had, the organization paid for canoeing certifications and CPR, and we would have been at the Toronto Canoe Club, watched by them, we still weren't allowed to. So, and then of course, I mean, if we're doing tool making, we were in a regulated and facilitated workspace in Toronto. I don't think it exists anymore, but anyways, we're working with machinery, some of the tools that we use. So those have been the main barriers. We haven't really had much else. I mean, funding is always an issue. I'm realizing different school boards are different in terms of the funding, or maybe whatever your priorities are in terms of what you want to teach the students, or what kind of activity you want to do. So, but generally schools have been pretty cool in terms of getting funding to bring in us for our work. So appreciate that. Yeah, and because we typically work with students over the age, they can give consent. But I mean, if we could work around that, that'd be great. But just to be on the safe side, generally that's who our age range, 18 and over, unless if we're doing oral teachings or paddling experiences, that's okay. We can work with all ages, but it's when it becomes with the tools, machinery, or water is where we come into some issues here. So contributions, if you're coming in as a non-Indigenous person and an ally, these are the things you can do. So yeah, there's some limitations, but what can you do when you're there? So clean up around your environment. So, if you're not helping with something, like, maybe pick up garbage or help bring food or materials or whatever, sweep up. There's always, we want all hands on deck when we're doing this work. That way we can get out faster. Help an elder, community member. If you see they need assistance in any way, just to be thoughtful. Like I said, food is always really important. So that's just opportunity for cooking and cleaning. Like I said, all hands on deck. You could gather wood, water, materials, things that are helpful to the learning space, or, like I said, there's usually food or a fire or whatnot. So, we always need people coming in, dropping supplies off, replenishing what's there. Yeah, bring equipment, tools you think would be helpful. So, there's some people that I've just want to give an example. Maybe you have a drone, you're a drone operator, you can take pictures or whatever that maybe the group or the community doesn't have. Like, so if you think if it's helpful and you want to contribute that, like, it's a good intent, do it, like, bring it. Yeah, so offer to help record or transcribe. So this is kind of situational. If you're comfortable talking to elders, if people know you, if trust has been built around, then I'm saying help record or transcribe, because sometimes, where there's storytelling, and this is if the community is asking for it. I want to be clear about that. That's great to have the intent to do that, but if they ask for it and you can be helpful and you have that experience, then please do, because a lot of our really great knowledge and our teachers, like, they're not always in university, they're not always publishing, like, a lot of our resources come out of just transcripts that exist in the communities, people just talking at conferences, or, they're in these spaces where there isn't a lot of attention. And so those are always beneficial, because you're creating community records, kind of capturing that oral knowledge. So, but like I said, it's not a case by case scenario. So if you're working with resources, like, I was mostly based in the city of Toronto. So whenever I was in a space, I would always kind of put it out to the audience, like, I'm away from my home territory, we don't have a lot of resources. And like, do you guys know someone that has private property? Like, do you got a birch tree there or something? Like, you got materials you're willing to share? So that's been really cool and really helpful, because people do come and say, hey, I know where people harvest maple syrup in the city, or my parents have a farm and you can come harvest this and that. So, I mean, those are one-offs, but it's always helpful. It's good to know. Yeah, I mean, a lot of our crafts are endangered, so you could be really helpful. We're coming with climate change, invasive species, deforestation. There's a lot of things over time. So to ensure that we can continue to do this work, it would be really helpful if everyone, again, contributed to thinking about that, planting Indigenous species, thinking about climate change, invasive species, things that can help us maintain our crafts, our technology. And then, yeah, if you learn, I mean, if you open up your mind to learning language, I mean, you yourself are gonna access a lot of knowledge. You're gonna be able to pass on that knowledge. You're gonna, encourage people to build stronger relationships with the environment. Just simply by learning the language. I mean, learning the language of places, plants, and even the original names of the teachers. Like if I have to learn about Plato, then why can't people learn about Anabinase? And if I say his English name, you might go look, right? So you might, who's this person? So it's good because it also just instills that it acknowledges our thinking, our knowledge, but also gives some pride to our students that we have contributors. And you're using our names, our language, and stuff like that. So getting into the positive experiences, and I think this is probably my last slide. We probably will go a few minutes over because we have to do the prizes. Positive experiences, programs in schools have been really awesome. Really appreciate, we've worked Toronto District School Board, we have Waterloo Catholic District School Board, we're gonna be doing some basket making up there. We could potentially be working with, I think it's, in Sault Ste. Marie region. Teachers have been really awesome, doing their research on, literature, really cool assignments, being supportive of what the teachers are wanting to bring into the space and for the materials and resources that we need. So it's been really great. I won't read out all of this. I mean, it's all just kind of there, but we just I probably have more experiences with non-Indigenous organizations than I do in with Indigenous communities. Mostly, I mean, we've been doing a lot more programming in the city with tool making and teaching and being in classrooms. I mean, like I said, we do research and whatnot. So that's a lot different than the community-based stuff that we've been doing. But I mean, just really grateful for the opportunities, for the acknowledgement, because when we get to come in, I mean, we're making Indigenous students proud of who they are, to encourage them to be contributors, to think about the knowledge that they carry. These opportunities, like I said, it's activating the mind, the body, the spirit, the heart. We've been pretty dormant in a lot of these learning spaces that aren't ours. And so when you create these opportunities for Indigenous students, like there's an activation of this blood memory, there's this excitement, there's this passion that comes out. And so I'm really grateful for that. And that's what really makes it worth it, are the students. I mean, absolutely. You can see the glow when they're really proud of that knowledge that they carry and their ancestors passing that all down. So yeah, just so I'm gonna stop there. I've definitely covered a lot. I know this is gonna be recorded. It has been recorded, but it will be posted, I think, on their YouTube page, OACM. So if you want to come back, you have any questions, you want to see the slides again, come back to the website. I don't know how long it takes to be posted, but I just want to make you aware that it will be available. And then you can reach out to me. I don't even know if I had that slide in here. Sorry guys, I didn't. Let me just throw it up in the chat here. But there's a survey. So I don't know, I haven't been checking the chat. Okay, here we go. So I'll put in this is how you can get a hold of me. If you want to work with us, you have questions, you want to chat, please reach out to me. We've been through a lot of things. We're willing to have uncomfortable conversations. You have questions you think are silly or whatever, please reach out. We're just trying to help people. We know that Ontario is wanting to move forward with some of the previous curriculum stuff that they wanted to do with the Liberal government. There's a kind of momentum around land-based learning, experiential learning. So I'm really happy to be able to share with you guys, because I encourage that if you're creating your own experiences or you're working with Indigenous partners or communities, these are some tips, some things to look for. Like I said, these are firsthand experiences. And we might be missing some things. If it's not here, if you're an Indigenous person or you have other experiences, you can definitely ask. You know, you can fill up this list here. You can take from here. These are our experiences. So yeah, Amos, are you, and also wanting to say thank you too, again, to our sponsors. The Intel, I think, is the big one behind all this. Dell Technologies, OECM, Advanced Learning Partnerships. Again, really honored to be able to share this with everyone that's here. And thank you guys, like I said, you guys are here because I know you want to do this, that you're willing to go through this work. And so I really appreciate that, because what you're having a positive impact. The ripple effects will go beyond you much longer into, you know, and your teachers. I'm a student. I love being a student. I'm here because I've had great teachers. And so just wanting you guys to continue on doing your great work, being passionate about students. So, because I'm still learning from all you guys. When I'm in these learning experiences, what are you guys doing? What are your best protocols? What are your methodologies? So just being humble in that way too. So Amos, I think that's it for me. Are we going to do prizes?
Sylvia,
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Oops, sorry. Thank you so much, Sylvia, for sharing.
I'm so sorry. I'm getting an echo here.
There we go. Sylvia, thank you so much for sharing your experience, your skill, and your voice with us tonight. I know how busy everyone is, and it's a testament to your leadership. It's a testament to everything that our colleagues give their communities to be here in the evening after a long day, supporting families, supporting colleagues, and supporting students. And so we're very grateful. We did leave a survey link in chat. If you click on that, it will invite anyone who participated tonight to share feedback on our sessions. How can we improve? How can we continue to support education leaders like Sylvia in sharing this platform that allows us to learn together? And so your feedback through that form is very useful to us. As Sylvia mentioned, there is a drawing. Each webinar, we have the ability to share a gift card. And as I mentioned before, we can either share an Uber Eats gift card or a Amazon gift card, depending on your preference. And so I was able to draw behind the scenes. Florence de Basige, if you share your email address, your work email address with me in chat, then we will reach out to you with that prize. And I'll wait just a couple minutes to hear from you. And if you don't share your information with me here before the session is over, then we'll reach out to you tomorrow and see if we can coordinate that delivery. I wanted to pause just long enough. Oh, there you are, Elaine. We've got you loud and clear, friend. Thank you very much. And Miigwech, Sylvia. Thank you so much, Florence. Does anyone have anything they would like to say? I see some chat unfolding here. Is anyone comfortable sharing the microphone and sharing anything prior to ending our session?
Yeah, and I can, yeah, if you don't want to be on the mic, you want to put it in the chat, I can stick around for 10 minutes or so. Yeah, just thanks everyone for being here. I'm just kind of getting through the comments. Cool. Okay, cool. Yeah, Stephanie, we should definitely connect. Florence, I noticed you. Florence, are you from Chiging or Clemacong? I know there's some people from First Nations schools that came and that joined, so I'm grateful for that. Chiging, okay, cool. Awesome. Tawana Brooks. Cool. Have a good night, everyone. I don't think there's any other questions. Thanks for coming out, and please come. I have another session October 25th. Going to be talking about canoes, food, and water. So yeah, just want to encourage you to come back.
Thank you so much, Sylvia. Good night, everyone.
Awesome. Melanie. Yeah, Melanie, come back. This is your second session.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.